Welcome back, guys. We are excited to talk about one topic that we all just love here on YouTube. It's all about making money, but contextualizing it into the recruiting space. So in this video, Ryan and I, who is one of the master coaches here at the Recruiter School, we want to basically kind of break it down with you on how you can actually go ahead and just make six figures, $100,000 as a recruiter. So Ryan, before we get started, any thoughts?
Yeah, this will be an interesting one because we talk a lot about how to make an individual placement and also how much you can make as a recruiter as a whole. But this video is about putting those two pieces together. So what do you do on a more daily, weekly, monthly basis in order to get to those larger term goals of six-figure plus? So a lot about connecting the dots here today.
So if you're unfamiliar with recruiting, or maybe you are, but you only have experience on the corporate internal side, we always get asked, like, how much can you make? What is the average take-home pay? Obviously, the short answer of it all is like, if you're entrepreneurial, it's really uncapped, but we also just want to make this video a little bit more realistic, right? So if your goal is six figures, which is completely doable, like what would that look like? What do you have to do to make that happen? Whether you're freelancing or part-time or as a solo recruiter or someone with a team. And so our hope is to give you more clarity and hopefully we're pointing you in the right direction. So let's get into it. Ryan, how much can recruiters actually make?
Yeah, so to firstly contextualize it here, we're going to talk about the direct placement method of recruiting. There are some other kind of payment models that we have discussed at length in other videos, so we're not going to get into that here. But to keep it simple for direct placement, recruiters, when they make a placement with this model, they charge their clients a set percentage of the annual salary that their candidate will receive. So industry average is about 15 to 25%. So let's say, for example, as you can see on the slide here, if you make a placement and you place a software engineer at a company and that software engineer will be making $150,000, if you charge a 20% fee, you can instantly receive $30,000 from the client. So that is what you bill. A quick little piece of confusion that sometimes we get asked, this $20,000 or $30,000 fee in this example does not come out of the candidate's paycheck. This is what the client pays you on top of what they pay the candidate. But that is just to show how there is really good money to be made in recruiting because you can see from one deal that can get you $30,000. You don't have to be doing 10, 20, 30 deals a year to be doing really well financially. And so just doing even 3 to 6 a year can get you well north of that six-figure mark. So the lower examples we have on the slide here, let's say your average fee is $25,000. So maybe a 25% fee and you're placing people with the salaries of 100 grand, then you need to make 4 placements per year to hit six figures. Just to highlight, again, you don't have to be wheeling and dealing, doing tons of deals, even doing one deal every month.
Are you struggling with getting responses from clients? Are you an established recruiter who is struggling to break six figures and beyond? Are you looking to start recruiting part-time and you don't know how? Do you feel burned out and stuck spending hours and hours each day in manual tasks like sourcing and outreaching and feeling like you have no time to actually run and grow your business? I am absolutely happy to announce that we have launched our own recruitment, educational, and coaching program to help you on your journey. We made sure that everything I've learned in the past 10 years, the tips, the strategies that really helped me build multiple seven figures of placements on my own desk with some of the best companies in the world will be included in there. We'll also be including things like how you can build an acquisition system that brings in clients every month to your agency hands-free, how you can maximize the probability of a positive close during negotiations, how you can automate and outsource your day-to-day operations so that you don't have to spend hours per day researching or sourcing, how you can figure out the new and modern way to scale your agency that minimizes risk and maximize your upside potential. And we've also included much more. The best thing about this is not only will you be getting amazing content, but we will also handhold you and be with you every step of the way to make sure that you are held accountable and you crush your goals. We'll also share with you our own tech stack, tools, and plugins we actually use, plus everything else we know about automation and AI to help you save time, work smarter, and not be a slave to your business. The exciting news is that we've actually rolled this out to a select few people earlier this year, and I'm excited to see them well on the way to multiple six figures, with some breaking $30,000 to $50,000 per month already. So if you're interested to be a successful recruiter that can dominate in any market conditions, make sure you click on the link below to chat with another member of our team, and we're happy to chat with you to see if we can help you out. Make sure you jump on this really quickly. See you on the other side.
Conversely, maybe your fee is a little bit lower. Maybe you receive about $20,000 per placement. Then you can do 5 placements in a given year, and that will get you to your goal. So just to highlight, again, you don't have to be wheeling and dealing, doing tons of deals. Even doing one deal every month or every other month can get you well north of that six-figure mark. So anything to add there, Preston?
Yeah, I think the cool thing about this is that if you are looking at recruiting for the first time, like the way that you calculate direct placements is really different and compared to other business models out there, right? And if you were to kind of break it down, like, oh wow, one placement I could be making roughly 20 to maybe 30K, and that's conservative. Then all of a sudden 100K seems a lot more realistic and within reach than you would actually think. Even though 100K is reasonable, it's also a big number too. And then if you're like, oh my God, in recruiting, that really only means like 3 to 6 placements out of an entire year, then you can kind of see people's like brain click and, oh my God, this is more doable than I actually thought, right? Because for another business, it could be, I need to be making roughly like $8, $9, $10,000 a month consistently to make, 100K a year. But here it's like, you could luck out, some of your maybe first placements could be on the bigger side. Maybe it's 25K, maybe it's 30K, and you only need a handful of placements. And then boom, you've already crushed that deal. So I think what we really want to make crystal clear here is that in recruitment, how we calculate things is very, very simple. And if your goal initially is 100K, then let's go for it. And it's actually a lot smaller of a feat than it feels compared to doing anything else, which is really, really cool. Breaking it down, Ryan, what are your thoughts here?
Absolutely. This is a slide that I think has a lot of good information in it because, again, this is what will help us connect the dots between all the work that goes into making one placement and then how do you replicate that to reach your six-figure goal. And so what we like to do, not only in our own agency, but also with the folks that we coach through the recruiter school, is to work backwards. So instead of freaking out about, oh my goodness, I want to hit 100K, how many emails do I send out? How many people do I got to talk to? It really helps to start at the end and work your way back. So let's say we're talking about one offer accepted. To get one deal, you need to have one offer accepted. To get that, you need to schedule around 3 final round interviews to have that one offer accepted because some people will not do well in the interviews. They'll get filtered out to get your one acceptance. So now we know to get one offer accepted, boom, we need about 3 final round interviews. Now, initial interviews or first round interviews do we need to schedule in order to get those 3 final rounds that we want. So on average, then we find these numbers vary based on your own skill level, your experience in industry and all that, but it takes about 3 to 5 first round interviews to get one final round interview. So again, going one step back, 3 final rounds to get one offer, and then 3 to 5 first rounds to get one final round. And then how do you get some initial interviews? Well, you need to talk to about 2 to 4 potential candidates. So for every 2 to 4 potential candidates you talk to, you'll get about 1 first round interview. And then, how do you go about reaching out to potential candidates? To have a conversation with one, you most likely need to reach out to another 3 to 5 potential candidates. And so you can see the web starts to get bigger as we go along. And so just doing that math backwards, you can see that to get about 1 offer accepted, you need to reach out to anywhere in the neighborhood of 50 to 250 potential candidates. So to give you just a rough ballpark to shoot for, if you're reaching out to about 50 to 250 potential candidates, that should get you around the right number of interviews, around the right number of final round interviews, and around the right number of offers accepted. So just using this model of working backwards, you can see what input do I need to do to get to the next step to get me to that final round offer. So I'll then pass over to Preston to talk more about how you can use this math and this formula to then multiply if you want to hit 200K, 300K, or 500K plus.
Yeah. So the easy way to basically calculate then, okay, if I have to do this to make 100K, you just essentially multiply it to make 2 to 3, multiple 6 figures to 500,000 or beyond, right? It then gets very, very easy. But I also do want to mention that there are assumptions that are kind of underlying with this slide. Of course, these numbers are super, super rough. Again, it really depends on your market, your type of role. Some of them can be super easy. Some of them can be very difficult in terms of the competition or like the level of difficulty in terms of getting responses. You can also just basically impact these numbers by how you reach out. I'm also assuming that you're kind of reaching out fairly well. You know exactly the different channels to utilize to reach out to candidates. You know exactly how to message and craft your messaging and your emails, your outreach, so that it generates actual excitement and intrigue from candidates. Like, we're just making a lot of assumptions here, but the whole idea with this slide is just to kind of provide just a high level, super rough breakdown, reverse engineering. Like, if I want to make 6 figures, this is what I have to do working backwards. So again, to make 4 to 5 placements per year, assuming that 6 figures is your goal, you need about 15 to 20 final round interviews, 50 to 75 first round interviews, about 150 to 300 potential candidate conversations, 500 to 1,500 candidates reached out to. And this is within a 12-month time period. So even though you're like, oh my God, 500 sounds big. Yeah, it's a big number. But if you spread it across 12 months, all of a sudden it's not that big, right? And so if you're like, oh, Preston, I don't want to make 6 figures. I want to make $250,000. I want to make 500. You basically just then multiply these numbers and work backwards, right? But again, the numbers don't mean anything if you don't know what you're doing. And that's why it's so important to have really strong fundamentals as a recruiter. So you know exactly what you're doing and you don't burn bridges. You're not wasting time and you're going out there, you're following best practices to yield the best responses. Now, in terms of the cost to consider, we will be remiss not to cover this, right? So obviously this is a business, this is a side hustle, and whether it's either or both or one or the other, there's costs that will be incurred on a month-to-month basis. So what would that look like, right? So it's very, very important when it comes to just making money. We're just not going to be overhyping recruiting, saying you can make all this money and pay nothing, right? Realistically, you're going to have to pay something. So what could that look like? So So it's very, very important to stay on top of your numbers, because if not, then you feel like you're making money, you feel like you're busy, but you're not profitable, which is not a situation you want to be in, right? So in order to reach maximum profitability, you should seek to make as many placements as possible with as few expenses as possible as well. Now, the great thing about recruitment though is even though there are costs, and I'm about to get into them a little more and ask Ryan for his thoughts, it's one of those beautiful things where the profit margins are so big and the overhead is so low, right? Now that we established one placement is $20,000 to $30,000, after we go through some of the basic costs in just a second, you realize, oh my God, if I just make one placement, I'm already extremely profitable. Not just barely, you're extremely profitable, right? You're already in the money. Life is green. Everything is great. And that's one of the reasons why recruiting and recruiter just becomes an amazing career, a side hustle, a freelance, or even like a business, because we're talking about solid 5 figures here upon a successful placement. And it makes all those days, weeks, or even a month of hard work completely worth it. So when you get started, you can work and you can keep things super lean, be very, very cheap. When I started, again, I don't know if you know my story. If you don't know, make sure you go back and watch previous videos, but I had to borrow money from my fiance, and literally all I used was a phone, my own phone. I didn't even have a business number, computer, internet, and just a few tools, right? So starting out, we really believe even now in 2025, with all these new tools coming out, there's no reason for you to spend more than a couple $100 a month on tools just to get started. Can you spend less and get started? Absolutely. But would an extra 100 or $200 a month help you? Yes. Free up time, efficiency, automation, all that good stuff. A monthly tool budget of around $250 would equal about $3,000 per year, right? Which obviously should be factored into your strategy, your original cost, financial projections, all that good stuff. And like I said, again, given that's true, like you do one placement, boom, you're extremely profitable. Everything pays for itself. And the smart way is if you're starting out lean, that's great. You don't have to buy all the tools from the beginning. As you do more placements, you can slowly start reinvesting those profits into more and more and more tools. So you have now a fully functioning desk that's well optimized with all the great technology and automations out there. But even with that, you don't need it. You can still just be super successful, make multiple 6 figures, even way, way more, just doing things manually, spending around $200 to $300 a month or less, right? So again, very, very affordable. And just want to really kind of drive this home. Unlike other businesses, this is one of the easiest to get up and running as fast as possible. And you just do one deal in a 12-month time span, you're golden, right? Ryan, any thoughts here?
Yeah, I think this slide is super important because it is so easy and so fun to just talk about, oh, if I just do this many placements, I got 100 grand, I got 200 grand, 500,000. And it is really easy to get carried away when you have to also think about what costs am I incurring to do that, right? It's not all 100% profit margin. You do have to pay for some tools, your phone, and things like that. But again, just to highlight what Preston was saying, you really do not have to start off with a lot of tools. We do talk to a lot of people who they start day one and they're like, all right, I already have a team of 5 and I'm paying $1,000 a month for tools and we're using all this crazy software. And sometimes that makes sense, but more often than not, we're like, all right, pump the brakes here a little bit. It really helps to start lean, just use the absolute essential tools you need to do the job. And then once you start making some placements, then you can reinvest in a team and tools and fancy bells and whistles there. So I always like to caution folks when you're just starting out, no need to spend more than $200, $300, $400 a month on tools. Just, bare minimum what you need to get you started and then, reinvest down the line. No need to jump in and raise your costs super high when in the beginning, you just need to get that first placement, those first few placements, to get that revenue in. So definitely something to keep in mind. Try to keep your costs as low as possible in the beginning. And then as time goes on, think about how can we use this to grow more strategically, which we'll get more into in the coming slide.
Last slide. Work smarter, not harder. I love this before I give this back to Ryan, because as great as it is to make a great income, right? It's just not sustainable, especially if you do everything manually. Being a successful recruiter, it consists of doing a lot of so many manual tasks, right? Every single day at the highest level. And while if you're super young, you can definitely just crush it, maybe a year or two, just doing everything manual. But now that it's 2025, and now that we just have access to so many available tools, if you really want to stick with this long term, or you want to scale, you want to hire a couple folks or something like that, it's very important to then kind of focus on not just working hard, but also working smart, so that now you can have a life, it can be sustainable, and you're not going to burn out. You see, when I basically started by myself, I did everything manual. I made the most money I did in my entire life. But with that said, I was burning out at least once or twice a year, which was really bad when it comes to vacations or weekends. In fact, those are probably the most stressful times for me, because I realized if I stopped working, my desk stops, right? So here I was going from a 30K job. My first year made over $500,000, most money I've ever done in my entire life. And I thought I was on top of the world. And then I was able to still replicate that in the second year, third year. But then as each year progressed, I was getting more and more tired, more and more burned out. out. And it started really just adding a lot more stressors in my life with the relationships, with friends, and everything else outside of recruiting. It was just all encompassing. It was like a void that was just sucking every energy I had away. And I had a real big epiphany. I'm like, wow, I'm actually someone who is making income at the highest level, but I'm not really running a business. I'm kind of stuck in the job because if I stop, everything stops. And I'm like, if I want to keep this going, I have to then look at different ways to work smarter and while I'm continuing to work hard. And the best ways to do that is to look into technology or strategic hiring or both. That's how you achieve true freedom. And that's how we actually walk people in the recruiter school to aspire to and achieve wherever they get started from, right? So when it comes to working smarter, it's great. I also think like if you had a choice, I'd rather you just start. And if you don't have that much money, that's fine. Do things manual, make money. I think that's everyone's first priority. And then as you're making money, we can optimize and help you kind of be more efficient and work smarter. If you don't have a foundation and you're just starting recruiting for the first time and you don't have that much money, it makes no sense to put yourself in more credit card debt or something, spending more on technology and hiring, hoping that it's the silver bullet that's going to basically solve all your problems. 9 out of 10 times it's not, right? So if you're going to basically look into this phase, I honestly do believe what I've done retrospectively is probably the right course of action. Learn recruiting fundamentally really strong, make money first, and then figure everything out, right? If you can't make money, then everything else would just not going to solve your problems. And you're just going to put yourself into more and more debt or more stress, increasing the overhead and just the monthly expenses, which you don't want to do. So Ryan, what are different ways that people can kind of work smart specifically when it comes to recruitment?
Yeah, so like you said in the beginning, keep it lean. Don't need to scale up with crazy tools and teams. But once you hit a point where you want to increase your billings, you want to hit multiple six figures, even the 1 million plus mark, working smarter is really the way to go. And the way we see it, there are two main ways to scale up from a technology and a tools perspective, but also from a hiring perspective and a manpower perspective. And so when it comes to tools, there's of course, your automation tools, data scrapers, ATS and CRMs can save you tons of time, keep you organized. But that really is only the half of it. You can be a one-man show and also be super hyper optimized on the tech side. And that could be just perfect for you. That could be just what you're looking for. You don't want to have other people to report to you or you report to them. And so that could be a good place to start. But also as you continue to grow, it's going to make sense and you're going to hit a point where you need to just add some more humans onto the team. You need some more people day in, day out working on your business and working on the tech stack and helping you grow as well. And there's a whole, plethora of ways that you can go about doing this, whether it's hiring someone full-time in your area, work together in person, or if you want to hire internationally or hire remote workers, you could do a full-time, part-time, contract, even freelance members. There's so many ways you can go about growing your team that match your budget, your growth path, where you are at the moment. So the growth paths of using strategic hiring and using strategic tools, they don't have to be done at the same time. Like I said, you can start with tools or start with hiring, but at a certain point, you are going to want to put these two together, to get the most bang for your buck and to have your business grow as fast as possible. You are going to want to have a very agile, very effective, very hardworking team, but also having a very, organized, very detailed, very efficient tech stack as well. So if you're able to blend these two together to have a hyper optimized team and a hyper optimized tools, using those together is going to help you to scale up 10 times faster than if you were just a one-person show doing everything manually with no help from the outside.
Absolutely. Well, guys, I hope that this video gave you more clarity and also just generated more excitement that, hey, if you're coming into recruiting, you want to make money, some serious money, 6 figures or above, this basically breaks it down on how you just have to approach it. And if you can do 6 figures, you can do 200K. If you can do 200K, you can do 300K. And then this slide just kind of really wraps it up nicely. It's all about working smart at the end of the day. If you can continue to work a little bit less and be more efficient, lean on other people, lean on more technology, your business then is a fantastic foundation to set yourself up for success into the future. And as always, Ryan and I are always happy to share our thoughts and our perspectives on all things recruiting. If you want us to make more videos about any specific topics, comment down below. But otherwise, Ryan, I appreciate you being on the video. And guys, we'll see you on the next one.